So welcome back, guys. So if you can see in this episode, I'm going to explain what is content projection in Angular. So if you refer to the Angular side also there, you might find this topic content projection. What are the different ways how we can project the content? So it's not like a topic which you might have not seen. It's just a reusable component. And in that component, we can provide the content that we can project. So that is why the content or the topic name is content projection. Now, so this is just a form and the form has some validation. Now let me just show you the UI. So if you see, I have a simple form and inside that form, I have normal label. For the label, I have some tooltip. One text box is there. Then we have a div to just add an ngif like text box is touch or not. Then a span, respective span for the multiple validation. So this same structure, these 4 lines, you can see in every column, it is same. In every column, it is same. So content projection, now just to, because if you see like label and this thing, these are nothing but constantly repeating. Some value is changing, like here label is changing, tooltip will be changing, here message will be changing, but remaining structure is same. Of course, here some this hash property changing, but again, whatever the element is, that hash property is going to change. So to overcome this, like so many repetitive things are there. As a developer, we should reduce our work by creating so many reusable things. So let's consider I want to create a reusable component which will do my work. Means in my component, I will reduce my code also. So like this repeated thing, label and this thing, I won't have to do it over here. I want to put this in a reusable component. So in that reusable component, we will use our content projection topic. So let's create a reusable component first. So in reusable folder, I'm going to create one component. Let's name it as a form wrapper, ng generate content, form element. So I'm creating one more reusable component. The name I have given is form element wrapper. Let it create. So it is created. Now again, it is not like with latest Angular 17 or the previous, it is same in latest Angular version also. So I have created a form element component. Now, if you see the content which I was explaining, like this is repetitive. So I will just copy this and we have to put it in my reusable component over here. After that, I have this div also, validation div. I will put it over here. But inside this, let me remove this for now. Inside this, I will have ng content. Now, this is nothing but this is the actual scene what we are talking about content projection. We can use ng content in the reusable component, and wherever we use this component and in between whatever we HTML pass, that will be loaded or rendered over here. Now, so in this reusable component, first I will create some input. So let's just add input. Then let's create some input. Now, if we see the HTML, what elements we are going to need, how many inputs we are going to need. First, the label. Then we can have a tooltip also and the message. So 3 inputs I'm going to need. So at the rate input, first, let's say label. Data type will be string. Then again at the rate input. Second will be tooltip. Again, data type will be string. And third will be for validation. But for validation, we will get the object. Because validations can be multiple, either required, min length, max length, to some pattern, email validation. So it can be anything. So that's why I'm keeping it as any. So I have just created a reusable component. There I have 3 input. Now I want to use this in my actual form. So here, now I will be using my reusable component. So now the text box, I have to put it in between of this selector like this. So now whatever we put inside between the selector, this will be rendered inside the ng content. This is nothing but the simple concept of content projection, right? But again, now our scenario, like we don't want to, in my form, I don't want to keep on writing this label and the div for the validation. I just want to get rid of this and put it in my reusable component that we have done, like here. Now, whatever the things like label, tooltip, we just make it dynamic by using this label. We will just interpolate it over here. And the tooltip also. So tooltip, I will use it over here instead of this static one. Two things are done. I will come back to the validation part in the end, but let's just see the first thing. Now, I don't need this over here. Now for this component, I have created some input. So let's add the value label. So label will be the first name. So this will go over here. Then second input, the tooltip. Let's provide some tooltip, enter your first name only. Okay, so we have rendered our reusable component. We have passed two inputs. Now third input also I will pass. So if you see, I just need to pass the validation complete object, that whatever the object we get now. So here what I have done, in hash property, I get the hash.error, I get the validation messages, right? So now this condition, I will pass it over here. Let's add the entered. Now my third input, that is validation. Now here I will just write if name is touched and we have some errors over here, then we will pass the same error. If name is touch and we have some error, then we will pass the error, means complete error object. Otherwise, it will be empty object. So you can see validation, I'm passing the object, but it is conditional. If I have touched this element, means this text box, and I have the error something over here, means validation is there. And means if both these conditions satisfied, I will send the error object. Otherwise, I will send the empty object. Let's add the min length also. Let's say min length 5. Now I can get rid of these two things. Let's design properly. So now everywhere, wherever I had that label and everywhere, that I just need to replace. And in between, I can just put my text box, whatever the content I need to project. So now your HTML code will look lightweight, because you don't have so much code, the repetitive code in your component. All the repetitive code, or which was not so much important to keep in the parent actual component, we have moved that to our reusable component. Just do for the city also, and the city text box will go over here. Let's remove this. Let's just format. So now here you can see, now you can see your content is very less. Now let's try to execute and let's see if it is working as it should be. So whatever label we pass, this will be displayed because we have not done anything for the validation, but let's just try. So here you can see label is also coming. And if we hover on that, tooltip is also coming. See here. Everywhere I have sent the same tooltip. Let's just rename that also just to test. Enter your last name. Let's save. Now these labels are coming from your reusable component, but the text box is from your parent component only, because text box we have put it into our parent component only. So here you can see we are getting the tooltip, like enter your first name, and we didn't change label. Let's change it quickly. Last name, city. Sorry, this is username, and the last one was city. Let's save. So now you can see labels are dynamic and the tooltip is also dynamic. So whatever we type, now that is also working. But now this validation message. So here you can see for this input, we have sent the either it is going to get the object or the empty array, empty object. So let's try to print that. What do we get over here? So this validation object, we will try to print it out over here. Let's remove the static thing. Let's paste it over here. We will use JSON just to see like what things we get. Let's see. So currently you can see for everywhere we are getting empty object because I have not touched any text box yet. If I touch, so now you can see we have got the validation message like required. For the first text box, we have added the validation min length. So now if I start typing, validation message got changed. See, again, if I pass the 5 character, then again it is empty. So now we just need to write some code because validation message, we are just getting the validation object. Whatever the validation, current validation error is there that we are getting. But keys are different. So in case of required, it is, you can see required is there. In case of min length, it is min length. In case of email, it will be email. In case of pattern, it will be email. But we cannot hard code that. We need to write a dynamic thing. So now we know how to get the keys from object. So let's make use of that. Now here I need to create a function in my reusable component. Let's create a function get validation message. Now this validation message, I will get the from here either. Yeah, let's write over here. So this function will be responsible to get the particular message from our object. So let's say validation obj colon any. And now this function, I will call it over here. And I need to pass the validation object, or we don't need to pass because in .ts only we have it. So this function, we don't need the parameter because we already have the validation object over here. So here now I need to get the keys from my object. So object keys is equal to object dot keys round bracket, and I need to pass the object means this dot validation message. Now here what I will get, I will get the keys whatever I have in my object. So if condition, I need to add it object dot keys, sorry, we will get the array. So object dot length not equal to 0. Then what I will do, I will just return the first object because every time whenever validation we get now, either only one validation message will be there. Either it is a required, main length, pattern, email, something will be there. So what I'm going to do, return object means this dot validation. And now we have to use square bracket, and inside square bracket, I will pass the first key like this dot 0, or else it will be empty. Let's return the empty string. So now this function is responsible to extract the particular first key from the message that object, and it will return the whatever the value we have. So let's check this now if it works or not. So by default, I'm not getting anything. But let's say if I clicked over here and get it over here, but everywhere we are getting. Why is it? Okay, so because everywhere validation, I have passed the first name. Let's rename that. You got it, right? So everywhere I just copy pasted. So that's why everywhere first name error object was sent. Let's make it city. Let's say. Now, if I clicked on the first name and if I go over, so we are getting true. Why we are getting true? Let's try to debug. Let's try to debug this function so that we will get to know we have written the code properly or not. Now, so an object dot keys, we have got 0 of required. Okay, so now if it is required, Now in this dot validation message we have got required, and what we say the value is 2. So here we need to write custom thing. Let's write that. So if validation length is not 0, so here we will write again the if statement. Let's say the value. So this thing, if it has, or the key only, we can just match the key. So object dot key 0 has required in it. So now if in the object first key is like required, so we will send the custom message like this is required filled. Just like that. Again, else if for the second thing, min length, max length, whatever the minimum, because we just have 4 types of validation: min length, max length, required, and the pattern. So like that, we will just write it. In case of min length, we will get min length over here. And we get the message also, like what is the actual type. Let me show you that. Let me just print it. So we will get return, and we will say min. Let me just see what do we get over here. We need to print the validation. Let me just test it one more time. Which is on. In case of minimum length, what thing or which property we get exactly, that I need to check. Okay, so in min length we get the complete object like this, so we can use it directly. The field name is min length only. So instead of writing the custom thing, we can just return the message whatever we get. So that will be like this. If it is the error is min length, so we are returning whatever the message we get. So just like that, pattern and everything we can have. Pattern and message we can see. And else return. Let's save and check it now. It should work now. Let's remove that JSON thing. So on the page load, we don't have anything. Now, if I touch and go away, so now you can see the validation for the required field we are getting. But if I start typing, oh, it's an object. Why it's an object? Let's try. In case of minimum length, it's breaking. So this dot validation, okay, this is min length. Again, it's actual length 5 and this thing is there. So what we can do, we can just stringify that also, so that we will get actual message like this is actual required length was this, but actual length is this. So here we get the object. So let's stringify that. JSON dot stringify. Or again, we can write the custom message whatever according to need, but just to showcase, I'm just stringifying it so that we can see the message instead of object. See, like this it is going, but this doesn't look proper. So let's modify that. Now let's write the custom message. So if it is the min length, let's write constant message is equal to. Now we will just concatenate the message. Minimum characters required is, and after that we will just add the value like this dot. Again, I forgot that. What was the thing? Required length. This thing we can use it over here so that we can show what is the required object like this, and this message we will return. So here I have created message like this, but you can use the actual characters also. Whatever the message you can write, that we can pass it over here. Let's save and let's test it now. Now it should work fine. So by default, we are not getting anything. Once I touch, required message is coming. If I start typing, so you can see I was getting up to 5, like minimum characters required is 5. Just a space is missing. After this, like this, that reusable component is actually reusable. So we don't have to, what do we say, do the UI designing, and we don't have to waste the time creating the HTML and the validation thing. So using this component, you have moved that label thing and the validation div to your reusable component. So this is what content projection is. So whenever someone asks you like content projection, so basically we have to create a reusable component. In that reusable component, we will have an ng content. And this ng content is responsible to render whatever you put in between the selector of your reusable component like this. So it will display this text box, whatever the thing is there, that is going to change. But label and the validation div, that is going to be common. So we moved that into a reusable component. So that is what I wanted to explain in this particular video. I hope this content is helpful to you. Please do like and subscribe. So that's it with my current video.